Part 2, Teaching People to See Stories. Why your organization is surrounded by stories it doesn't recognize. Welcome back. In Part 1, we talked about why most nonprofits don't have a fundraising problem, they have a storytelling problem. But that raises an obvious question. If meaningful stories are happening every day, why aren't we collecting them? The answer is surprisingly simple, because most people have never been taught what a story actually is. When I ask nonprofit staff if anything meaningful happened this week, I almost always hear the same answer. Not really. Then I ask a few more questions. Did anyone smile for the first time? Did someone accomplish something they never thought they could? Did a volunteer do something unexpected? Did anyone say something you'll never forget? Suddenly, the room fills with stories. The stories were always there. People simply didn't recognize them. That's what Part 2 of the book is all about, teaching people to see differently. Chapter 5, Activities Are Not Stories. One of the biggest breakthroughs you can create in your organization is helping people understand one simple distinction. Activities are not stories. Transformation is. Think about these two statements. We distributed 250 meals. That's important, but it isn't a story. Now listen to this. A father quietly slipped an extra apple into his pocket because he wanted his daughter to have breakfast the next morning. Same program, same mission, completely different impact. Or this, we housed 18 families, versus a little boy spent 20 minutes deciding which bedroom would be his because he'd never had one before. That's the difference. Activities tell us what happened. Stories tell us why it mattered. Here's the definition I use throughout the book. A story is simply this. A person experiences change that creates emotion. That's it. Every memorable story contains those three things: a person, a change, and emotion. Without change, you have information. With change, you have a story. One of the most powerful questions your organization can begin asking isn't what happened today, it's what changed today. Those answers are completely different. Chapter 6, Your Staff Are Witnesses. When organizations first introduce storytelling training, staff often become nervous. They think, I don't want to make videos. I'm not good at writing. I don't want to be on social media. Good, because that's not what we're asking. Your staff are not marketers. They're witnesses. Their job isn't to create content. Their job is simply to notice meaningful moments before they're forgotten. Think about your social workers, teachers, nurses, volunteer coordinators, case managers. They're already standing exactly where the stories happen. They don't need another job. They simply need a new habit. At the end of each day, ask yourself 5 questions. Who surprised me today? Who made me smile? What moment stayed with me? What change did I witness? What would I tell someone when I got home tonight? If one answer immediately comes to mind, capture it. Take a photo if appropriate. Record a voice memo. Write 3 sentences. Text your communications team. Don't wait until tomorrow, because details disappear. Emotion fades. the little moments are forgotten. One thing I emphasize repeatedly in the book is this: you are not responsible for deciding whether it's a good story. That's the communications team's job. Your responsibility is simply making sure it isn't lost. That removes enormous pressure from staff. Chapter 7: Stories Hide in Ordinary Moments. People often think they need dramatic stories. They don't. Some of the most powerful stories I've ever heard lasted less than 30 seconds. A volunteer remembers a client's birthday. A child proudly shows off a library card. Someone laughs after weeks of grief. A donor receives a thank you phone call and begins to cry. Those aren't headlines. They're human moments. And human moments are what donors remember. In the book, I talk about 5 places stories naturally hide. The first is firsts. First apartment, first job, first smile, first day of school. The second is lasts. Last chemotherapy treatment, last night in a shelter, last foster care visit. The third is unexpected moments. Acts of kindness no one planned. People who stayed late. Volunteers who quietly went above and beyond. The fourth is small acts of kindness. The handwritten note, the birthday cake, the comforting conversation. The tiny things often reveal the biggest truths about your culture. And finally, emotion, relief, hope, gratitude, pride, joy. Those emotions tell you you've probably found a story. But here's something equally important. Not every story should be photographed. Not every story belongs on social media. Sometimes the most respectful thing you can do is put your phone away. Experience the moment. Then later, write down what happened. Record a voice memo. Honor the person's dignity first. The mission always comes before the content. Bringing it all together. So here's what I hope every nonprofit employee remembers after watching this video. You don't need to become a storyteller. You already are one. You simply need to learn to recognize stories while they're happening. Tomorrow morning, don't walk into work asking, "What do I have to accomplish today?" Instead, ask, "What moments of transformation might I witness today?" Because I promise you this, someone will surprise you. Someone will overcome something. Someone will smile. Someone will experience hope. And if you notice that moment, you've already done the hardest part of storytelling. In part 3, we're going to talk about what happens next. How do you capture those stories before they're forgotten? How do you make story collection simple enough that busy employees will actually do it? And how do you build systems that turn everyday moments into newsletters, donor appeals, board reports, grant proposals, and social media content? I'll see you in part 3.